It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis will join us a little later on. He's high in the sky, flying around. He's going to tell us about his experiences at VidCon. We'll all weigh in on IGTV. Aunt Pruitt will stop by to talk about something brand new from Adobe that's going to make Chromebook owners a lot happier. And Mathew Ingram is here to talk about journalism and more. It's going to be a great Twig next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 463, recorded Wednesday, June 27th, 2018. The final nail in the snap coffin. This Week in Google is brought to you by Moogsoft. Reduce IT alerts and tickets up to 99%. Visit moogsoft.com to learn more and sign up for a demo. And by Lighthouse. With 3D and AI, Lighthouse is the home security camera you just ask. And for a limited time, until July 9th, get $100 off. Just go to light.house. That's www.light.house. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis is on an airplane, but as soon as he gets here, which will be in about maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, we'll add him to the mix. Stacy has the day off, but look who we got. Mathew Ingram is here, chief digital writer at the Columbia Journalism Review. Hey, Mathew.
Hey.
He's at the cabin because it's summertime. Nice. What lake are you on?
I am on a little lake. It's called Golden Lake.
On Golden Pond.
Mm-hmm.
The loons, Mathew. The loons.
Also, there are loons.
Are there loons? I love the sound of loons. It's very mysterious.
It is. We have tons of them.
Also with us. And did that get Finn all excited?
Oh, no. He's gone.
He's gone.
Kylo Finn.
Kylo Finn is his dog's name, and that's Aunt Pruitt. He is a contributor to Tech Republic, and we're thrilled you could join us on short notice. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we always love having Aunt on anyway. It's always great to have you on. So breaking news just came out half an hour ago. Samsung and Apple have buried the hatchet in their, 9 years now? Long-running court case in which went back and forth. Apple sued Samsung on patent infringement. Samsung countersued. 7 years, I guess, it's been going on since 2011. Initially resulting in a $1 billion ruling for Apple. Then the Supreme Court heard it and then sent it back to the lower court, approving the decision, but saying, now we got to figure out how much money you own. Last we heard, $539 million fine to Samsung on Apple's behalf. But the judge, Lucy Koh, said, I want you guys to go and talk. I don't want this to go to trial. I don't want this to go to trial. So the companies have buried the hatchet. No comment
from... So how much do you think the settlement was?
Yeah, it's not clear. I think what is clear is that this was something that Steve Jobs kind of launched, and he wanted to go global thermonuclear war on Samsung.
Yeah. He said nuclear. I remember those exact phrases.
And the company waged this war, even though it wasn't, even with a victory for Apple, a lot of stuff was revealed about Apple's process. You know, there was definitely collateral damage on both sides. I'm sure Apple got some money, but I think really what really happened is that both sides had leadership changes and lost their stomach for
interest. Yeah. Well, and so they should have. It was a waste of time and money, I think. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I mean, the fact that they spent months and who knows how many millions arguing about whether Apple invented rounded corners, you know.
Yeah, in fact, I think Apple probably felt vindicated because the jury agreed that Apple's patents were good. They upheld the patents. There was some debate, I think, over, did Samsung copy Apple? The jury decided that it kind of, not totally, but kind of had. Samsung no longer really copies iPhones. That's pretty clear. This is about
they've sort of dropped that about 3 versions ago, didn't they?
Although the irony is now pretty much everybody's copying Apple's notch, which I think many agree is its least desirable feature of the iPhone.
Yeah, it seems weird. Like some phones have notches, they don't even need them.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to point out is just how important is the notch, because they have sensors in them, and if people are going to whine and claim that they have to have a 0 bezel phone, you got to put those sensors somewhere.
Or right? Do what Oppo did with the Find X, which is a very strange design. It's a phone that has a motor in it that raises the camera so we don't have to have a notch, and then it slides back down.
Because moving parts are always awesome for phones.
That sounds like something that could go bad.
well, we'll see. I mean, it's a beautiful phone, and because it has no notch, it has a 93.8% screen-to-body ratio, which is as high as you can get, pretty much. It's just the smallest little bezel.
It's definitely pretty slick looking. I give them that, But personally, I'm not into this whole bezel-less movement or what have you, because I swipe from side to side, on my Android device going to different screens. And it's so much easier with somebody to have, meat hooks like mine to have a little bezel to give me some type of, breathing room.
Well, the idea is to give you everybody wants bigger screens, but nobody wants to have bigger phones. So the idea is how big can we get the screen without making the phone any bigger? And that is a 6.42-inch phone, the Oppo Find X, because it has no bezels. I don't know. Have you tried the Samsung S8 and S9, with the very little bezel on the side that they kind of curve around? Do you not like those?
I did. I didn't enjoy it. It just seems like I fat fingered on the screen a lot when you have these really, really thin bezels. I even struggle with the Pixel 2. Well, I have the XL, but I still struggle with just going from screen to screen, with the horizontal swipe, Yeah,
I agree. I'm the same. I don't like the lack of. In fact, I didn't like the Samsung Edges for the same reason. I just found that I was triggering things all the time just by picking it up.
Matthew, do you use an Android or are you an iPhone guy?
I'm Android.
And you're Android as well, Ant?
Yes, sir.
So I'm the only one here with an iPhone 10. I use them all. I mean, but I guess... I
get why you use them all. It makes sense.
You have like 11 phones or something.
Yeah, it's an interesting... But I carry 2. My daily 2 or 3. Maybe 4.
5 tops.
Well, no more than 5. I just don't have enough pockets.
Yeah, it's 2 hands and 5 phones.
I would say today, though, the dominant phone is the iPhone. We had on Friday, I interviewed Phil Zimmerman, the creator of PGP, and he started Silent Circle and created the Black Phone, which was a privacy-focused phone, which failed. He said it failed not because the technology was bad, but because we didn't understand that in the cell phone market, if you don't have a carrier, you don't have anything. Nobody's going to buy a phone. We just couldn't sell enough of them to justify the manufacture of them. He carries now an iPhone. And he says, from a point of view of security and privacy, there just really isn't anything but the iPhone to be considered. If that's your primary concern.
I think that's fair. If you care a lot about that, then they are better for that. The only reasons I've, like anecdotally, friends and family, they want iMessage,
right,
and they want rose gold.
They're lock-ins right there. Those two right there. They're lock.
But mostly iMessage.
It shows you how trivial, the advantage is for most people.
I know we go on about the cameras and the processor and the OLED screens or whatever, and really all my daughter cares about is, can I iMessage people?
Samsung today sent out invitations to the Samsung Galaxy S9 launch, which will be appropriately August 9th. So we're only a little more than a month away from the launch of the Note 9. In fact, the FCC already has the Note 9. Everything I've seen, it looks very much like the Note 8, which I thought was a great phone. I really do like the Note 8. The 9 is
a pretty slick device, great hardware.
Yeah, and it'll probably have an updated Qualcomm 845 in it, and the Exynos, of course. I hope it continues to have a headphone jack. It's one of the last flagships to have a headphone jack.
I still miss mine.
I know. That's a really big thing to give up. That I don't mind the notch. I can live with the notch. Bring the headphone jack back.
You know, after a while, you sort of train yourself to look around that notch, if you will. It's about like if you wear glasses. Yeah. After a while, you don't see the scratches on your lenses. Right. You know?
Yeah. And the notch does have function. I mean, it's not a cosmetic thing. You need to put the cameras somewhere.
Right.
What's interesting is the new iOS 12, which the public beta just came out this week on Tuesday and yesterday, I guess, or Monday. And on the iPad, they've moved on iOS 12. They used to have the date in this time in the center. They've moved it to the edges to make room for, I'm guessing, a notch will be on the next iPad. So the notch is here to stay. I think, yeah, I can live with that. But I'm sorry about the headphone jack. I think that unfortunately that's gone forever as well. And maybe Samsung will take a clue and continue with the fingerprint reader and the headphone jack.
I'd be okay with losing the headphone jack if you could get better headphones, like wireless Bluetooth. A lot of them are just garbage.
They just drop out. We don't, there's latency in Bluetooth as well. Although I have to say Apple's AirPods are less latent than normal Bluetooth headphones, so they're doing something to speed those up. But there's still latency, which means you can't.
Ears or something. I can't wear a lot of in-ear headphones.
They're just hanging out of your ear like that.
Yeah, or they fall out, or
they hurt too, right?
Yeah.
I struggle with just the protocol, the Bluetooth protocol, because if I want to try out some Bluetooth devices like just regular headphones to walk around the block or work out in, there's always this interference. They sound great. The few that I've reviewed and tested, they sound great. But the second I put my phone in my pocket or something, I start getting all of this static and interference, and I'm like, man, this is just ruining it. So give me a wired headset, and I can continue to have high fidelity audio. Without all of the dropouts.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't see why, if the phone is literally in your pocket, it can't make a half decent connection from your pocket to your ear.
I mean, it's got nothing to do with the speaker quality. That's just the protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, yeah. All right. Maybe, yeah. I agree. If you can get rid of wires and still be as reliable as wired, that probably is the future.
My favorite wasn't it the Google headphones where they tried the
Pixel Buds?
And you had to, in order to pair them, you had to put them back in the case and reset them just to switch devices.
Such a bad design. The rumor is that there will be with the new Pixel 2 or 3, I guess there'll be a new Pixel Buds design as well.
I hope so, because that's like...
Oh, hey, I got rid of mine. I couldn't use them.
Yeah, you want to use our headphones? How about we kick you in the face a couple times?
Yeah. And the thing that they touted, the simultaneous translation, didn't work at all. It was terrible.
Didn't even work,
Terrible. So those, they sounded all right, but then they had a wire. As long as we're talking cameras, I'll quickly run through some other rumors. This is Android Police saying the next version of the LG, which is the V30, very nice phone, the thin, cute, very nice phone. The V40 will have five cameras, and two on the front, and face unlock, and 3 on the back. Wow. I have a 3-lens phone. I just bought the Huawei P20 Pro, and it does very nice imagery, but I think it's a kind of gimmicky. On the P20, one is monochrome, one is color.
Okay.
And they work together to give you a better image. The XO
I was going to say, shouldn't they give you better HDR, right?
Yes, exactly, and better low light, right? Yeah. And in fact, DxOMark gave them the highest camera phone rating. Well, I think 103, something like that. They've ever given.
It reminds me of remember the Onion about the razors with 3 blades and 4 blades, and
80 blades.
Yeah, screw it.
Well, there is a phone. We were talking about it yesterday on Mac Break Weekly with 14 different sensors on it, all different. That's the stupidest looking thing too. It looks like something's wrong with it.
Nice.
Looks like it's a genetic mule.
Mr. Laporte, with that Huawei phone, how are you feeling about it from a performance standpoint? Because it has that Kirin chip in it, right?
It has its own chip. I mean, as far as I can tell, it's as smooth and, it's there. It is. What is the name of that phone? That is that weird. Look at that.
The light camera.
It looks awful. It looks
that's an abomination.
It looks like an abomination. Kill it! Kill it!
It's like that Microsoft software where the AI puts eyes on everything. Have you seen that?
Oh, it is. It
looks like a glitch.
It's literally a creepy looking phone because they don't put everything in any logical array or order. It's just
looks like a glitch.
Let's put some more cameras on there.
So the P20 is nice. I would not recommend it.
Okay.
This is the Huawei Chinese phone.
I was thinking about the P20.
The camera's okay, but the Pixel 2 is a great camera. The iPhone's got a great camera. Great camera is kind of table stakes in the Android or iOS sphere right now. Almost all the flagship phones have very, very good cameras. P20 may be marginally better, but there are I think some serious privacy concerns. I'll reset. Yeah. Well, but to add that to that, the first thing, I wish I'd gotten a screenshot. I'll reset it and do it again. The very second question they ask you is, before you get into Android setup, Huawei says, would you like to have accurate weather forecasts? Oh, yeah. Well, for that, you need to give us permission to access your location. Okay, that makes sense. Your IMEI number and your MAC address.
No.
Whoa.
For weather?
Whoa.
I mean, I guess kudos to them for telling me they're spying on me.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. They're not hiding it.
They know us Americans are just going to hit next.
Yeah.
You know.
And now I don't want to. Do I want to put anything? Do I want to put my LastPass on there? Do I want to put my checking account on there? I mean, it sounds like this phone, they've got it completely bugged.
You have a really expensive burner phone, sir.
Yeah.
Well, and the screen is an LCD. It's a 1080p LCD. It's not very good. It's not a great panel. So it's not particularly cheap. If you buy it in the U.S., it might be cheaper in China. It probably is. But if you buy it in the U.S., it's not particularly cheaper. I would say get if you want a really nice very nice feature-rich Android device with a great camera, the S9 is a good choice. The Note 9 will probably be a good choice. I would stay away from the P20. Do not get it.
Yeah, that would make me nervous.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That they want my IMEI. They want so basically in the very, very early setup, they under a completely bogus pretext, they're saying, well, can we track you?
Yeah. Down to the device.
Down to the device.
That is hilarious.
And having given that permission not to Android but to Huawei, now you can be assured that everything you do is tied to your device ID.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with Google. This is all Huawei.
And then if you happen to visit China,
well,
they could target government services to you, right?
Yeah, well,
it's for your benefit.
So that's the question. Actually, this is a larger philosophical question. So what if China knows everything about me? What could go wrong? Unless I go to China, maybe. But assuming that I'm not going to go to China. What do I care if the Chinese government has a dossier on me? Is that something I mean, there's obviously it's insulting and, they shouldn't, but what can they do to me, really?
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. You're just as likely to be a target of hackers with or without the Chinese government, I would think.
I'm not advocating for it. But I'm saying
definitely depends on the person. If there's somebody that's working on the Hill, they couldn't pry.
No member of but of course nobody cares in Washington. We know there's many stingrays in Washington, many run by apparently foreign governments.
Yeah. That
the president refuses to use a secured phone. We know that Pence's phone was hacked very early on. So if you're a government. And that, by the way, is I can't remember if it's the Department of Commerce. It's the recommendation of the U.S. government that you not buy phones from ZTE, Huawei, or Xiaomi. Yeah. And now I see why.
It's funny, though. People pay a lot of attention to the phone, but like dozens of people I know, lots of people I know have routers and other devices in their house that are Chinese made. They've got
everything's Chinese made now.
Everything's China
made. Everything in your house. It can track all kinds of activity, but no one thinks about that. It's just a box.
So this is a Pixel 2 that's made in China. This is an iPhone 10 that's made in China. On the other hand, it didn't ask for permission.
Right.
That's why. But ultimately, that's why I think Phil Zimmerman says trust Apple, because even though they're assembled in China, Apple's paying attention to what's going on, presumably at Foxconn, and they're not allowing stuff to be put on the phone and so forth.
Although I got to say, Apple, I think they get a lot of positive marks for their commitment to privacy and so on, but did they not agree to give the Chinese government effectively a backdoor to their devices and to their users in China?
I don't know.
Did they not do that?
Oh, they do that, yes. In China, yes. Not to Americans, but in China, yeah.
Right, so we get privacy, which is great, and thank you to Apple. But
HD Editor in our chat room said actually something that's really a very good point. I think people don't consider the friend of a friend problem. Sure, I may not care that the Chinese government can spy on me through my Huawei phone, but I'm also giving up information about friends and family.
That's a good point.
And that is a really good point.
That is a good point.
So I will go home. They do allow you to unlock it. They have a website where you can unlock it and root it. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just say this is my burner phone for rooting purposes. But that's a really good point. And it's something we often don't consider. I've talked about this before. When you say, yeah, you can have my contacts, you're not only giving your information, you're giving everybody in your addresses book information to this company.
That's the kind of the flu analogy where I use that with people. I say, well, I don't want to get a flu shot, but doctors will say, well, you might not want a flu shot, but everybody you come into contact with is going to get the flu from you. So it's kind of, it's not for you. It's for the people who come into contact with you.
Mathew Ingram is here from the Columbia Journalism Review. He's chief digital writer there. Hey, Mathew, it's great to have you. 1T, everybody. Mathew I on the Twitter. And Pruitt.
Other people need two. I only need one.
Yeah. You're sufficient. One is sufficient. And Pruitt is also here from Tech Republic. And guess what? Jeff Jarvis is arriving as we speak. We're going to shuttle his
flew him in.
He's going to fly in his TV set in just a second while we take a break to talk about Moogsoft. I love the name Moogsoft, and the logo is a little cow, so that's the Moo. And the founder loved synthesizers, so that's the Moog. And it's software that IT people know and love because it takes all of those noisy alerts that light up your monitor, all those tickets like a Christmas tree, and shrinks them down by up to 99%, guaranteed. Moogsoft AI Ops. It's not AI as an artificial intelligence. It's AI as an algorithmic IT, and it's an ops platform that can reduce your IT alerts and tickets by 99%. Now, I know you could do that by just unplugging, but this doesn't unplug. No, in fact, it plugs into everything, all of your existing IT tools. But then Moogsoft's patented technology correlates all of those events into actionable work items. They call them situations. And you can then, instead of seeing 100 alerts, look at one situation and say, this is what all those alerts are telling me. Let's fix this. So you're more effective. You're more efficient. And this is a relief, let me tell you. Eliminate unhelpful noise. Focus on making the changes and the fixes that you need to make. I'll give you a great testimonial. You'll see it on the website from HCL Technologies. They're a global IT managed service provider. And they use Moogsoft's AI Ops as the event management layer within their award-winning Dry Ice platform. They say it's helped their clients streamline their operational workflows and reduce the time in the detect to correct life cycle of incident tickets. In fact, a significant reduction, 33% reduction in mean time to restore. That means they can support more customers with quality service and keep operational costs low and maximize efficiency. Let the machines do the boring work. You do the stuff that really matters. With Moogsoft AI Ops, you can. You reduce your IT alerts and tickets by up to 99% right now. You want this. It's the next generation platform for IT incident management. You want this. Go to Moogsoft.com to get a demo. Moogsoft.com. Moogsoft.com. We thank them so much for making their IT operational, algorithmic IT ops platform available to all of you. Moogsoft.com. Jeff Jarvis, you got back in time. Nice.
Well, not really. I was late. I got to sneak above my lower third.
You finally got your whole title in here. Jeff Jarvis is the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Also Director of the Tao Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
That's not
well done, Karsten. Well done.
It's the lower half.
That's actually more like a lower half.
Or it's a second chin now.
We'll get you a normal one. There you go.
There we go.
We'll shrink it down.
Sorry, I'm late. I'm late.
Where were you again?
So I was in Aspen doing the Aspen Ideas Festival.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, actually, I can now that I'm gone, I can actually rant on Aspen, but we'll get to that in a second. But I was doing the Intelligence Squared debate. And the proposition this time was that social media is good for democracy. Guess which side I was on. Guess how bad we lost.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So it was Emily Parker, who's wonderful, just wonderful. She, among other things, had started did a startup with Wael Ghonim of ex of Google to have civil discussion online. And the other side was Roger McNamee and Franklin Foer.
Did they change your mind, or did you just lose the debate?
We lost the debate because what they do is they have a vote beforehand, then whoever has the greater delta afterwards. We lost 1 percentage point. They gained all of the undecideds.
So Friday, we're going to kind of get part 2 of that debate because we're going to be joined by Siva Vaidyanathan, who has a new book saying
who should have been part of the debate. Siva is a formidable foe on these topics.
Well, you've agreed. And he's agreed, and we're going to have him on with Jeff Jarvis on Friday as part of our triangulation show to talk about his new book. The premise of his new book is Anti-Social Media, How Facebook Disconnects Us and Undermines Democracy.
Which was exactly the debate we had.
Yeah. Well, we know what
I obviously disagree.
A good one.
So this will be, and it will be a civil, it won't be a debate. It'll be a civil conversation. No.
Siva's great. We disagree about tons of things, but I love discussing with Siva. He's wonderful. And if I can butter him up enough, he'll be nice to me.
He's a smart guy, a professor of media studies, right, at UVA.
Yes. Yes.
So,
I just got his book.
Yeah, I've been reading it. It's really interesting.
I haven't. Is it out? Mine hasn't arrived.
I just got a copy from the publisher.
Oh, okay.
It may not be out yet. Let me just check. If it's out, I'll send you a copy so that you can.
I think I got it on BitTorrent, actually.
Let me see on Facebook.
I was thinking the other day, what we're doing right now, which doesn't make for great airtime, I know, but why doesn't every TV, MSNBC, CNN, still have the laptop open and actually look up facts while they're on the air?
Because they do have laptops, but I never see them any checking.
It's not great TV.
Because you know why? In fact, I hadn't watched MSNBC in a while because my stress level was so high. And I watched it, and it seems like they're all rushing through all the segments.
Yeah, that's true. There's no time for
Chris
facts.
Matthews is particularly bad. Ari Melber particularly bad. They feel like and so you really never feel like you have enough time to finish a conversation or a thought.
No. Oh yeah, having been on a couple of those shows, I know. Yeah. So I'll get the Kindle right now. Yes. So I thought it was out next month.
Yeah, it's out. June 12th it came out.
Good.
I haven't seen MSNBC since Windows XP when they made it your default homepage.
They're on TV now, Ant.
Uncle Ant here. Jeez, I think that big machine behind you might be able to get television if you put the
I think it's why Ant is so serene.
That's true.
And zen is because he doesn't let himself get stressed out.
Nope.
Yeah.
The plane lands.
I
turn on the phone,
my man.
I'm gonna take a lesson from you, Ant.
Let me stress you out. Go ahead, Jeff, and then
I turn on the phone and I see Justice Kennedy retiring.
Yeah.
And I got nothing to do. So these two guys I said not a word to them the whole time. I had to show them the phone. I said, "Look what happened while we were in the air." I'm stressed.
It's very stressful for people who are worried about the tilt that the Supreme Court's going to suddenly take. But I want to talk with you, Ant, because as a person of color, you probably have some interest in this issue of face recognition. And there was a really good editorial by an African-American CEO who works in this field. He wrote it for TechCrunch, Brian Brackeen, saying he's chief executive officer of Kairos, which develops this stuff. He says law enforcement absolutely should not be using existing face recognition technology because of racial biases. He said, as a black chief executive of a software company developing facial recognition services, I have a personal connection to the technology, both culturally and socially, and he's seriously concerned that a lot of innocent people will go to jail. A lot of innocent people of color will go to jail because of it. There's no place in America for face recognition that supports false arrests and murder.
Right. I agree 100%. It's not there yet. It's just not there.
And it must concern you because you could be a victim.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I can just take this back several notches just to something fairly simple. You know, right now you're looking at me on the screen and I have a beard, okay? And if I was to shave my beard and just go with the whole Van Dyke look, goatee look, or what have you, I'm categorized a certain way because I'm a bald black man with a beard. And
you'd look like
it's
Shaft.
really non-distinguishable,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it bugs me because I've done that a few times just to experiment and see what happens with my social media and engage with certain people online or whatever, and just the communication that I get from people based off of this look versus when I've shaven it off is fascinating. You know, people think I'm less intelligent for whatever reason.
Oh my God!
Some people
Really?
even, I've been told, you're just a meathead because I'm bald headed and I have a
another point of prejudice. You have a Southern accent.
Southern accent, you know, and I'm thinking this is the type of data that's being fed into all of these AI systems, and it's just not right. You got to fix this stuff.
So,
you know,
that's
don't
the
even
point
go there about the whole gorilla stuff.
Oh God.
That's an important point too. We keep on concentrating on the algorithm itself, but it's the incoming data that needs an audit too.
Yeah.
There was a piece on Medium. I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but the argument was the facial recognition should not be used, period, by government forces or law enforcement. That it's basically the technology and the implications of the technology are so enormous that it shouldn't be used, period, at all.
Though it depends on the use. If you're going to use it to find a missing child, if you're going to use it to find, a missing Alzheimer's patient.
But as soon as you start carving out.
But no, the technology is not bad. Its use is bad. You regulate not the technology, but the use. And I agree, it should not be used in law enforcement. It's not ready. It may never be ready. I'm not arguing there, but that doesn't mean that the technology should then be cut off from other purposes that could save lives.
Microsoft,
and I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, because we know that. See, there's still though risks. We know that concert venues, for instance, use Amazon's recognition to identify bad actors, people they've had problems with in the past, and refuse admission.
I presume casinos have been doing that for as long as they could.
Right.
Yeah.
Card counters and such.
But if recognition thinks all black people look the same, that's not a good use of it.
Yeah.
It's a lower harm, but still not a good use of it.
The promise of facial recognition is we can recognize you individually, and yet the technology just cannot do that reliably.
Yeah.
Period.
Actually, bald guy with goatee on my left here. It looks
Mathew,
exactly
Ingram,
like Aunt Pruitt.
not bald.
Microsoft does say that it's been using additional training to improve results. They say their error rates are down 20 times.
Isn't this only a data problem?
Arguably.
Right, which is to say which is a bigger issue here is what does society have photos of?
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a larger problem, and actually my daughter's doing her college thesis on this, which is that unintentional biases introduced into all of these automated systems because the people who are creating the systems pass their biases and ignorance and inabilities on. And the problem is it's so unconscious. It's what Kathy O'Neill writes about. with weapons of math destruction.
And Zeynep Tufekci too. I mean, the algorithms that drive social platforms, that drive Google, that drive, they're designed by human beings, and human beings have biases, unconscious biases largely, and those get encoded in the algorithm.
And so are newspapers, and so are movie studios, and so are TV studios, and it's true across all of that. I'm not justifying any of it. I'm just saying that's exactly the problem. Is that
is that the process of civilization and of improvement over time? Is that these biases you could trace the history of America to some degree is as we learn about these biases, we try to correct for them. And that a lot of it is really just mass mind and cultural consciousness. And it's a process of getting woke and then getting woke again and then getting woke again.
Yeah, it's a process, just like you said.
And we're making progress, I hope.
We are.
Sometimes two steps forward, one step back.
Few steps back.
And it feels to me like oftentimes algorithms, in particular YouTube's recommendation algorithm, Facebook's newsfeed algorithm, are actually entrenching people's biases instead of trying to help correct them.
Yeah, that is something that has changed. And I think it's probably what Steve was talking about, is what we'll talk about on Friday on triangulation, is that big data and fast computation have kind of weaponized these biases in new ways, and they happen faster and more powerfully than they have in the past. And so maybe that's the two steps backward, is that these biases are getting writ large. And when police, as a perfect example, when law enforcement starts using biased face recognition software to arrest people, that is an example of how the bias can I mean, there's always been bias, right? I mean, eyewitnesses are notoriously biased and bad at picking out faces, but it's a slower process, right?
Right, and you're not talking about bias in an algorithm that controls what 2 billion people are seeing. I mean, we've never seen anything on that scale.
Well, I'd say right, and I take the point, Matthew, but I think we have to acknowledge that all of American society at scale has bias.
Yeah, it's just
and it's not just the algorithm.
It's not encoded in an algorithm that makes billions of decisions a second.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Is that it's we all have biases that get acted out every minute, every day. But when a computer's doing it at mass scale, that can have a much
when law enforcement does it at mass scale too. When every police officer in the country is making decisions every few minutes. I'm not knocking all police officers. I'm just saying that is there bias in their decisions? Well, yeah, we have the data. And we know that, and that's at scale. That's the issue.
But I think there's one thing that we're trying to fight, I think, now, is that people aren't accustomed to thinking of algorithms as having biases. And they're not encouraged to think that way by platforms that rely on those algorithms. The sort of, the story is, well, the algorithm is a magic box that computers run that performs certain functions. And I think part of what people like Zeynep and others are trying to do is to say, look, these are products of human beings. Human beings have biases. They should be treated in the same way.
Just like we thought doctors were God. We think the algorithm is God.
Right.
But we've learned. I mean, news algorithms have not produced better news.
And a lot of these companies wave at the algorithm, as the kind of don't look at the man behind the curtain.
Right. Oh, it's just the algorithm.
Yeah.
And you were saying?
It just makes me think back to maybe 2 years ago at most, when all of the techno panic come out about the AI and algorithm causing people to lose jobs. And to an extent, I could see that, because we can build robots to do this function and that function and not have to hire manpower to do it. But on the flip side of that, I always said, well, why not hire people to help feed the algorithm, to help make the algorithm better than what it is right now? Because
exactly. And I saw some stories. I was just coming in, Ant. It was talking about more algorithms being more humans hired.
Google said that. Yeah. Google said in their YouTube blog that using AI and machine learning doesn't mean fewer human beings. It actually means more human beings.
Yeah. On the other hand, I do want the burger making robot And I know it's going to eliminate some jobs, but I want to see the burger making robot operate. Did you see that story this week?
Why would you want that?
Just keep it out there. Don't bring that to my house. I'll cook my own burgers.
Yeah, I don't know. Here is the Creator. This is a startup restaurant called Creator, and this is the burger making robot.
This is kind of great, isn't it?
Oh,
look at those!
Wow,
look at that.
This is John Constantine at TechCrunch. Boy, that's not what I thought John Constantine looked like. That's
Josh.
Josh, I mean, yeah. He's quite the hipster, isn't he? So let me see the robot in action. This is the interview, but let's see the robot. Well, having worked at a McDonald's, I was basically a meat robot when I was at the grill at McDonald's. And I could do this, by the way, a lot faster and a lot more efficiently.
Yeah.
Oh, all you old guys say that.
Man, I could. Okay. Come behind the grill with me sometime.
Sonny.
Come behind the grill with me. I'll show you whippersnappers. We used to get a tray of 12 regulars, right? So that's 12 patties. They give you a spatula that's a foot long so that you could flip 6 at a time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Foop, foop, foop. You got the ketchup squeezer and the mustard squeezer. I could crank out 12 patties in 3 minutes like that.
And they were delicious.
And they were delicious. They were good eating.
I noticed you said patties. You didn't necessarily say burgers.
There wasn't necessarily meat in the patties.
Here's a moment.
Look at this. Wait a minute. This is disgusting. This thing is a mess. I don't want to eat this. This is gross.
Well, you ordered it wrong. You did everything.
Look at that. Does that look at there's ketchup on the
sloppy.
That is the worst. If I did that at McDonald's, I would have been fired.
All right, and Mathew, a junk food experience, working experience earlier in your lives?
Yeah, definitely. I won't say in particular, but I did my fast food run for a little while, and
which chain?
I know it was pretty much you're pretty robotic yourself working on those little lines,
but it wasn't,
because you don't have any thought process on what the ingredients are. You just see what your order is, and you know that it's 2 ounces of this, 4 ounces of that. Wrap it, send it. Period.
I just read Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. Oh. And pretty much every kitchen is that. The whole point of a commercial kitchen, of a restaurant kitchen, is to produce identical food every single time.
Yeah, and keep costs down, because it's already costing a ton of money just to run that restaurant. So that's how you maximize those margins, by knowing that it's only 4 ounces of cheese that goes on this.
Oh man, they got mad at us if we gave them 2 ketchup packets. Every ketchup packet is 4 cents. You give them 1 packet.
I was the kitchen manager at Ponderosa Steakhouse. And I don't know if you can be able to see this or not. Don't take no offense at what I'm about to do. Can you see the difference between those 2 fingers?
One's shorter than the other.
Yep, lettuce slicer.
Oh God! Ow!
Oh.
Yeah. Mike, the manager who trained me, was very short and had short, stubby fingers. So when he showed me, just don't put the plunger. Just put the lettuce in and use your hand.
God.
And so I made true chef salad.
So somebody got your finger in their salad.
Well, to Ant's point, he did debate for a while whether to throw out the lettuce.
That stuff costs money.
Yeah.
Somebody picked that lettuce. So I think that working at McDonald's, and I did that, it was my first job when I was 15 and a half, and I did that for every summer for 3 or 4 years through half of college, and then I worked in the college dining hall, were some of the best. That was a great job. You move fast. You never. The worst thing in a job is to be standing around, right, Ant? The harder you're working, the better. The faster the day goes, the more. I had a great time, and I learned how to work. They said you don't ever stand there. If you don't have something to do, you're cleaning.
Right.
That's right. Exactly. You're leaning. You need to be cleaning.
or as leaning on the machine. This is not the dishwasher. You are.
Yeah. Where did you work, Matt? Did you work at fast food?
No, I never did any fast food. I pumped gas. So I worked at a little gas station and ran the counter, but I didn't.
That is not a good job, pumping gas. I would far rather.
You know what? I really enjoyed it.
Really?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know why. I like the smell of gas, which is weird, but
so I would go home smelling like hamburger grease. You'd go home smelling like petrol.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the smell of gas.
It smells like victory.
I can still sing the theme song.
Go ahead.
If you like your steak, give your appetite a break. Get your steak at the Ponderosa Steakhouse.
Grab a bucket and mop from the floor to the top. Tell me, what does it mean? At McDonald's, we're clean.
When is that from, the 50s?
That's my era. I worked in a
don't
McDonald's with
remember that
golden arch, with the old-fashioned 2 golden arches and everything. It was the
That
original.
was 8 billion burgers ago, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It still said millions on our sign.
Yeah.
Wow.
I loved working at McDonald's. One summer, finally, they said, either we don't get that you want to have a career here.
Yeah.
You think?
No?
Did you try to argue them out of it?
I think they said, look, if you're willing to go to Hamburger University instead of Yale University, we'll think about it. And I said,
So what if all those jobs went away? Would society be worse off, you think?
I think it was good for us to have those entry-level jobs for each one of us were critical in the early days, right?
But you could do robot repair now.
That's not as much fun. I don't know. What do you think, Ant? Your kids, how old is it? Your son is getting to that age, right?
10th grader and a 7th grader now.
So they're getting to that age where they might get their first jobs. Are there jobs out there for them?
No.
Actually, here, jobs that are available for them would be like a grocery store attendant.
Service jobs.
Stuff like that. The fast food
Those are going away too.
market of it is usually for the older kids. It's usually for the high school seniors and people like that.
You got to work your way up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still see plenty of people.
It's full-time work for a lot of people.
Right.
If Amazon has its way, nobody will be working in grocery stores either.
Part of me is fine with that. Because I like the whole delivery system. I like the whole idea of I need about 6 pounds of ground beef by tomorrow. Can you work that out? And I really don't feel like driving across town, or better yet, I need a nice 6-pound pork belly because I'm going to be barbecuing in a couple of weeks.
You were a real chef. You actually were a cook.
Hey, I'm a Southerner. We don't mess around when it comes to cooking.
Everybody.
There ain't no pork belly in a McRib sandwich. I can tell you that right now. There ought to be, but there isn't.
But I like the idea of a delivery system from Amazon, and they have that whole Prime. What's it called? Prime Now.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called. And I've seen it pop up on my feed or whatever. But a lot of the things that are offered to date is not of use to me. But I'm sure they're going to expand that and start bringing more things that I'm interested in. Because just deliver it. I'm all for it.
Somebody woke up my Google somehow. Earlier today, there was, I think, an outage on the Google Home.
There was. Which was
Google Home and Chromecast.
They weren't talking. I kept asking my Google Home because there's a thing you can do with the Google Home. You could say, look, did Belgium just scored a goal?
Yeah.
And it'll go, goal! You can say any country.
So I just asked her this. I said, are you up again?
I'm always on the clock. The good news is I love my job.
Well,
I love my job.
Yeah. Tell her some country just scored a goal.
Germany.
Yeah, say Germany just scored a goal.
Germany just scored a goal.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's still down.
Ours didn't go down because I assume they have special Canadian Google Home servers. So
I wonder if that's the right syntax. I did it the other day. It was so much fun.
Germany just scored a goal. It was my syntax. It was my bad pronunciation.
I think that's fun.
The machine is training you.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be trained by the machine. Let's see. Where do you want to go? You want to do Facebook? You want to do Amazon? You have Jeff. You have a story you said, hold for Jarvis, the Google...
No, I didn't say that. Karsten did.
Karsten did. The Google News Initiative Journalism Fellows. Who are these good-looking
It's a minor
people?
note, but I think it's really great that
they're all women.
That they are all women.
Yeah.
Wow.
At last. So that's good. That's cool.
So what is the News Fellows program?
I don't know what this one is. The Google News Initiative is the new thing that kind of expands on what they did in Europe, the Digital News Initiative. Now it's the Google News Initiative where they said they're investing. This is what used to
be the News Lab fellowships. Okay. They've been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good. It's good.
That is really fantastic to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 women.
Yeah.
Although somebody wrote about Google and Facebook funding journalism and how it's problematic, didn't they?
Is it?
Yeah. Who could have done that? Who might have been the contrarian trying to argue that?
I don't know. I remember the piece.
It was a good piece, Matthew. It
was
a good piece.
Who wrote it? Mathew?
I did.
I'm sorry, I'm not in on all the...
That was Matthew's subtle way to plug, yes.
So...
Well, Mr. Ingram, you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, thank you.
It was, so I was looking at, for the Columbia Journalism Review, I was looking at whether Google in particular has spent hundreds of millions of dollars funding fellowships and research and training, and so I was just looking at whether that's whether there's an inherent kind of conflict there for journalists or for journalistic entities to be taking money from large platforms that they are increasingly relying on for their journalism or for their business.
And of course, I had to do full disclosure. Mathew talked to me, so I've accepted money from Facebook and Craig Newmark, obviously, and the Ford Foundation and others, but I am independent of Facebook, and none of their money goes into my pocket.
Well, and Mathew, you wrote about the fact that both Twitter and Facebook, in fact, recently, I think Jack Dorsey just had meetings with Sean Hannity and a bunch of conservative commentators to reassure them that they weren't liberal slanted.
Right. And Facebook has been doing the same thing, trying to convince conservatives that the algorithm and the platform isn't biased against them.
Yeah.
Ever since the trending brouhaha.
Yeah. But I think that's the point I tried to make in there is that, it's fine to try and do that, but if you bend over backwards to reassure conservatives, that's going to have an impact on what you do on your platform. You could argue that you could draw a line between what happened with trending topics and then them firing everyone and feeling sort of under the gun about bias, and then, effectively conservatives and the right wing weaponizing Facebook to help elect Donald Trump.
Have we talked on the show about the current kerfuffle, there being always a kerfuffle, about Facebook and labeling political ads with the who places them? Have we talked about that in the show?
No, we know they're doing that now.
Well, yeah.
Why is that? Why is there a kerfuffle?
Here's why there's a kerfuffle, because, and Mathew, correct me if I'm wrong here in your understanding, but what they've said is anything with political content has to be labeled. Well, the New York Times does ads promoting their political coverage, and so.
Oh, we have talked about
Facebook is requiring them to do the same disclosure, and when they don't, they say that Facebook has rejected their ad. Now, on the one hand, I think the simplest thing to do here is to say, if you're a news organization, you're a different thing. But on the other hand, we're going to get into a fight right off the bat. Who's a news organization? Is it Breitbart? Is it InfoWars? And so what Facebook has tried to argue now, it makes one more sentence then Facebook has tried to argue, Campbell Brown did on stage with the New York Times. The New York Times went after Facebook and her hard at an event at Columbia. And Campbell Brown from Facebook came back and said, what's wrong with transparency on the behalf of newspapers? My view is that every ad should have full transparency as to who bought it. And that'd be the wise way to go. But the way Facebook rolled this out, once again, got them in more hot water. Mathew.
Well, and so what the New York Times and other news organizations have said is that they want to be exempt from this policy. So that
should they be?
They're I don't think so. I mean, to me, if you promote a story, that's an ad. That's called an ad. And so if it goes into an archive of ads, I don't see how that's a problem. The argument I think that Emily Bell and others have made is that that's a very slippery slope if you start categorizing what amount to news stories, promoted or otherwise, as political advertising that encourages users and readers to see them as somehow biased when they're not.
So what does she argue in the end, Matthew? What does she say Facebook should do?
So I'm not sure she has an answer. I mean, I think she said she understands Facebook's perspective on it, that they are trying to be more transparent. They're trying to get on top of the whole advertising problem that they wound up in front of Congress for. And so this is a step that they believe will help do that. They've created 2 separate archives. One is for news and one is for non-news. So that's kind of their concession to news organizations. I mean, to me, this is a problem that's inherent in Facebook's platform. A promoted news story just looks like a news story. So it's not an ad in the same way we kind of think of ads. It just looks like a news story, except it's
native, truly native. Yeah.
Right. And that's an inherent. So on Facebook, everything can be an ad, and so everything is an ad in a way. So it's kind of it's a definition problem, and Facebook can't solve that.
Yeah.
Are we just going to accept that people are going to use Facebook for news, right? That's just given.
Kind of use it for whatever they want to use it for.
Internet and allegedly,
right.
Facebook
is their internet.
It's the internet. It's the internet. Yeah.
So it does have to be solved. I mean, you have to somehow solve this issue.
And there's another angle. So the other sort of aspect that the reason why media companies, I think, are so upset, or part of the reason, is because Facebook has decreased their organic reach gradually over time to the point where they have to promote their news stories in order for people to see them, because they can't rely on organic reach anymore. So on the one hand, Facebook is saying you have to pay to promote your stories or no one's going to see them, or that's how it's structured things. But then as soon as they promote those stories so people will see them, they get labeled political advertising. And
as an ad, yeah. Wow.
This is hard stuff.
That's tough.
It's very hard. And I think that just the acknowledging that it's hard is the important part of this. I'm going to be working on another project soon out of the CUNY. I'll talk about it some future week. But trying to define what news is, then what quality news is, those are really hard things.
Not just hard. I would argue that's impossible. I mean, quality news, and it goes back to all the surveys and people trying to focus on trust. Facebook wants to define what's a trusted news source. Well, you and I might have completely different views on what a trusted
that's
news
kind of
source
part of my
signals.
problem with it is it's a little patronizing to humans. Like, oh, we've got to let you know what you could trust or not, instead of saying.
Yeah, that's why I think trust is the wrong scale. But I think that you can, Matthew. Things like the Trust Project, named Trust, but in which papers like the Washington Post and the Globe and Mail say that they will agree to, I don't know, 6 or 8 standards. They will label opinion versus news. They will put up the names and biographies of their writers and the masthead of the entire publication. That's an indicator of quality, and I think there's lots and lots of indicators like that, and I think that's fine. What you do with that indicator should be up to each individual and each platform and so on. I don't believe in having a whitelist or a blacklist, but I think doing a better job of gathering and promulgating those indicators, those signals, helps make better decisions, because the algorithms are making decisions.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the trust indicators aren't a good idea. I'm not saying fact checking and those kinds of signals aren't a good idea. I think they are a good idea. I just think they're a tiny, tiny drop in a very large ocean.
Do you guys all use? Do you use? You said you don't watch news channels anymore, but where do you get news? Do you use Facebook for news?
Twitter is my news feed.
Mm-hmm. Which has many of the same issues, right?
Well, and most
do you
of the time
follow links on Twitter when you get news on Twitter? Do you then drill into whatever the link is?
Yeah, it depends on the source, because most of the time, like, I can't sit here and say I follow CNN, okay? And the people that I follow, they will retweet a CNN or some other news source, and I basically say, well, if so-and-so retweeted it, I probably should take a look at it, that kind of thing, because if I just followed CNN and clicked on every single thing, I would end up getting pissed off, because some of it is bad in my opinion, and it just doesn't necessarily add any value to my day, But if one of my peers retweets it, that's how I go about news of the day.
So you have curated news from your friends. Go ahead.
Correct.
Matthew.
I use Twitter in exactly the same way. I mean, to me, it's a social news reader. So people that I respect or organizations I respect tweet things, and I use that as kind of the way I used to an RSS reader.
You know, and nothing against CNN. Their job is to report the quote unquote news, but a lot of stuff that I've seen from the likes of CNN and other news outlets is some things are just over sensationalized. And I'm like, this is not worthy. And then the headlines really piss me off. You know, I write for Tech Republic, so I understand that the idea and behind having a good headline to get people to want to click on your story. But there are a lot of times when stories pop out there. I think the last thing that comes to my mind was flight was diverted to Charlotte that was supposed to go to London. You know, and I'm thinking it just didn't make any sense. Where did the flight come from? You know, did it come from JFK? Did it come from Maryland? You know, but it made sense when I read the story because the flight was coming out of Spain. Well, no, I can't remember. It was all confusing. The headline just didn't make any sense. Now I can't remember the story, but the headline didn't make any sense.
Usually headlines are used to manipulate. That's the other thing. Is that
right?
You know, that's
my argument of this debate we had was I kept on going after the fact that media are who polarize society. Media pitted red versus blue, black versus white, 99% versus 1%. Media invented the business model of clickbait and sensationalism, and all that we accuse the platforms of now is just following the trajectory that we set in media.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even if a newspaper invented clickbait, a newspaper was only going to reach, you know, maybe 200,000-300,000 people, if that. You've got Facebook and Google and even Twitter for that matter, Instagram, Snapchat, have kind of weaponized clickbait and turned it into something.
Well, no, I think we weaponized it.
But it's an orders of magnitude bigger problem.
No, Ant was just talking about CNN. You're talking about television was the invention of the notion of mass. Well,
CNN, my local news station, if I were to turn on the television and they do their teaser before they go to the commercial break, you know, it's really, really played up. And yeah,
Film at 11.
They've been
doing this since the beginning, right?
You, Leo, it's your fault.
And you wait around and you're like, that's all that was about?
Yeah,
really?
always. Always.
Then at the end, they play a video that they found on Twitter.
Yeah, that's what really cracks me up. All right. Well, we sound like a bunch of old guys sitting around on a porch saying, you know, the problem with this world is. Do you think technology can get us out of this? I guess is the final question. No.
People can use technology to get us out of this.
Technology can help.
All right.
Yeah. Technology didn't cause it all, so technology can't solve it all.
No, the first fake news was in the first Herald Tribune in the 1800s when they were trying to this is a great story in Fantasyland. Is it Anderson?
Kurt Anderson. Yep.
A great book about fake news, the history of imaginary stuff in America. There was a circulation war, and in order to gin up circulation, they pretended that telescopes had seen the lunar.
That was the New York Sun.
New York Sun. That was it. The lunar population. That is series on the people living on the moon.
Yeah, and they had wings, and they had scientists talking about how they lived in these caves and so on. And other newspapers picked up the story.
So it's been as long as there have been newspapers.
So indeed. I just finished rereading this magnificent book by Elizabeth Eisenstein, who's the key scholar of Get Your Drinks Ready, Gutenberg.
Divine Art, Infernal Machine.
Infernal Machine, about from Gutenberg on to the present. And she has a chapter on newspapers. Just give you one or two quick quotes. Doctors expressed concern about the state of the nation's mental health and sounded alarms about the effects of sensational journalism on the national psyche.
When was that?
Fair.
That was in the 1800s. 1800s. The German critic, quote, a newspaper is a business undertaking which produces advertising space as a commodity, which becomes saleable only by means of non-advertising space, right? The model's been there forever.
Right.
Where was it here?
Up until your buddy Craig Newmark disrupted the whole damn thing.
My favorite was Benjamin Franklin actually created a fake news story.
Really?
And then published it himself. Yeah. Published it himself pretending that it appeared in an issue of an actual newspaper. And it was designed to basically get people angry about, I think, the British Empire. And he just made the whole thing up.
So it does strike me that it is neither different in quality or quantity what's happening on Facebook or CNN or anywhere else.
But I think
I think there's this moral panic. Here, I got some more quotes. Voltaire said
it reaches
different quantity, and I think it's different in speed and magnitude.
Speed, maybe, yeah.
So Voltaire said journalism was discredited by the multitudes of papers which greedy booksellers have published and which obscure writers fill with incorrect extracts, stupidities, and lies.
But you know, Jeff,
newspapers were invented for the solace of those who were either too busy or too lazy to read whole books. Rousseau said a periodical was an ephemeral work without merit and without utility. Arr!
So what?
Same exact discussions
were said about books. Same thing was said about books.
Yeah.
How you couldn't trust
what
them.
she says.
Anybody could just write a book.
Yeah.
I found that headline. The headline reads, American Airlines Airbus bound for Charlotte diverted to London Airport.
That does sound odd, doesn't it?
You know, but then the very first line is, an American Airlines jet headed from Barcelona, Spain to Charlotte was diverted.
That makes a little more sense.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
But that's just sloppy.
That's just sloppy.
Well,
that's neither link bait nor
as it is sloppy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this is driven by the economic model. The only way to make money, or the only way lots of media entities have figured out to make money, is advertising. And the way to get advertising money is to drive clicks and traffic. So in order to do that, you have to sensationalize your news.
I do want to point out that the Charlotte Observer seems to have a real knack for link bait. Here's some other local headlines. Where is the Mercedes that a witness says seemed to accelerate as it hit cyclists? ?
Good question.
Hunt for serial flasher at Virginia Shopping Center leads to MMA fighter, police say. Your tires could become shoes with this new project. Here's how. And finally, Ric Flair's daughter, WWE star Charlotte Flair, featured naked in ESPN's Body Issue. Man, I want to read every one of those stories.
Hey, you just say Ric Flair in Charlotte, everybody's going to stop.
Ric Flair.
See, there you go. Click. Is there any taboola or outbrain down there?
No, they don't need taboola or outbrain at the Charlotte Observer.
Okay. They're creating their own.
They're creating their own.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, but your point's well taken, Jeff. By the way, let's give her a full plug. Elizabeth L. Einstein, Divine Art, Infernal, or Eisenstein. Yes. Divine Art, Infernal Machine, the reception of printing in the West from first impressions to the sense of an ending. Oh, I want to read this. University of Pennsylvania Press. Very interesting.
To your point, I think whether it's clickbait or fake news, these are human problems. They're cultural.
That's kind of my point. They're human problems. Yeah.
Algorithm tweaks are not going to solve these problems.
Yeah.
The problem is not technology, but human behavior on technology. So that's not to say that technology shouldn't be designed differently to deal with that. I think that it's true. I just wrote a book chapter about this and argued the same in Aspen. It's true that people like me and the technologists were believed too much in openness and didn't recognize the result. We didn't recognize sufficiently the manipulation that would occur, not just economic, but also psychological and political. They haven't been open enough. I mean, all that's true. But you're all right. This is not it's not the cause. It's not the solution. It's a fact.
I was on a panel and trying to remember who it was.
All we do is go on panels, right, Matthew?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who it was who they had a great analogy, and I can't remember who said it, but if I think of it, I'll mention it. And they said that social media is an accelerant. It doesn't create problems like political or social or cultural problems. It's an accelerant for those problems. It's like pouring gas on a fire. So it isn't the underlying problem, but it can exacerbate a problem.
So does this let Twitter and Facebook off the hook?
No,
not at all.
No, not at all. But it doesn't. But we have to be aware of the moral panic that blames everything on them and then creates legislation and regulation around that. And there's worse coming.
Because neither did they create it nor can they cure it.
And I think
no, but they are a factor. They have a role. They can accelerate there. They can help. Yeah. They should. But we have to work with them.
Right.
And part of the problem was the sort of technological solutionism, that the kind of utopian idea that a great algorithm can solve society's problems.
So I think this all becomes relevant because we're headed into a midterm election.
Mm-hmm.
And there's concern that whatever happened in 2016 could happen again.
Mm-hmm.
It seems a little late to be worried about it now. But
maybe.
But it's ever thus.
Yeah.
Hindsight.
And I think that's why Facebook and Twitter have been meeting. There was another story about them meeting with government and intelligence sources to say, hey, can you guys give us a heads up about anything that we should be aware of?
And they were very frustrated because when they met with
they got nothing.
The guys said, well, tell us everything you know, but we're not going to tell you anything we know.
Right.
This was a meeting that took place May 23rd at Facebook headquarters. Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Oath, Snap, and Twitter were there. The Times spoke to 3 attendees of the meeting. Also there, Christopher Krebs, Undersecretary for the Department of Homeland Security, a representative from the FBI's newly formed Foreign Influence Task Force. Neither the Department of Homeland Security nor the FBI had anything to say about it. And apparently they didn't have much to say at the meeting either.
They basically got shut down. Yeah, they got nothing.
People who attended described a tense atmosphere in which the tech companies repeatedly pressed federal officials for information, only to be told repeatedly that no specific intelligence would be shared. I can understand that. They, for whatever reason, they want to protect their sources.
I disagree to this extent. I've talked to people from both Facebook and Google, very high level, very frustrated with government, because there are cases where government knows there are crimes and campaigns and other things going on, and they don't share anything.
Right.
And in the case of Russian manipulation, if they're not sharing information to try to stop it, gee, that smells a little suspect.
Well, and in fact, others at the intelligence agencies have testified in Congress and other places that the Russians are already well at it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think they need to provide sources. They could have just said, look, these are some general patterns that we're seeing, or there's other, internet research agencies or things like them, and we've seen them meddling in this or that. I mean, they didn't have to.
But they told the Senate that. They said Russia's using fake accounts on social media, many of them bots, to spread disinformation. European elections being targeted to, as Brexit was. We expect Russia to continue using propaganda, social media, false flag personas, sympathetic spokespeople, and other. I mean, it's the same playbook they used last time. Yep. So it's not like these companies don't know what happened last time. I wonder if, okay, I hear what they're saying, but is this a little bit of saying, well, they didn't tell us anything, there's nothing we can do about it?
No. I've heard them personally. They're very, very frustrated.
But what do they want? I mean, they know what's going on. They know about bots.
No. Well, yeah, and Facebook kills a million bad accounts a day. What they want is some measure of intelligence to be able to know better. It goes back to the Al Franken moment at the hearings some time ago, when Franken said, rubles, you should have seen because it was rubles. Well, they didn't know to look for rubles. They didn't know this was going on. Now that they know, they need clues and signals, and government's not cooperating. And once again, it has to do with this administration in Russia. Sorry to get political for a moment here, but I think it's all the more reason why they should be revealing in some way or another. So the government's not helping them at all. Zero. Well, the platforms are trying to do what they're trying to do. The platforms are on hot water. The government's not helping them at all.
It's a classic meeting, though. I mean, the FBI or whoever you meet with them, they're not going to hand over information. The number one thing they're going to do is try and get information out of you. So they're going to try and get you to help them more than they're going to help you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that that's unreasonable. Twitter has done some things. I mean, today they announced new plans to make it harder to create spoof email accounts, to create accounts on Twitter. I think Twitter's doing as much as it can to make sure that account creation is harder for bots, right?
And they said their AI is getting better in terms of spotting suspicious account creation. So hopefully that's going to help. The thing that troubles me, I mean, Facebook, I don't know if you guys remember, Facebook came out with its own internal security report looking at bad actors and bad behavior on the platform before the Russian thing blew up. And there were some significant reports from insiders that the report was basically cleaned up so that Russia wasn't mentioned as a big factor.
Yeah, so this
vague terms.
This is a two-way street.
That troubles me.
It seems easy to blame the FBI. They didn't tell us anything when they're doing this. They're doing what they're accusing the FBI of doing. I don't know. Tempted to give up on the whole damn thing. There are things the platforms could do that are positive, like get out the vote campaigns, right?
Well, even that's controversial because, does that have bias in it?
For who?
Well, don't say for who. Just say everybody needs to vote. Get out there.
Facebook
but voter suppression is the largest issue that we really have in this election. Voter suppression is the entire issue. So trying to get the vote out is a political act. I agree with you. They should. It should be mom and apple pie. But even that isn't in this crazy world.
Facebook did an interesting experiment where they allowed you to say, I voted.
Yeah.
You could sort of put a flag.
I thought that was cool. Yeah, they did that in the primary here.
And they tracked it, and they found that it increased voter participation by measurable amounts.
Yes. And now's the time to say, are you registered to vote? I don't see how that's controversial. How could that be
like that? Because people, you dig into the people's, what is it, FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, wait a minute, they got a little check mark on their avatar.
Yeah, I want the button.
Yeah, they should make it really cool looking, like an animated GIF or something.
So yesterday, Twitter published how Twitter is fighting spam and malicious automation. They're showing the number of accounts challenged. This graph has gone up significantly.
And then it went down.
But it's back up again to a peak now. In May, it was 10 million accounts challenged. We're removing, Twitter says, 214% more accounts for violating spam policies year over year. The average number of spam reports we received through our reporting flow continued to drop. I guess that's a good thing.
What was interesting to me in that Facebook report was it wasn't bots or spam or fully automated accounts that were the biggest problem or that were the most interesting. It was semi-automated or bot-like accounts. So people where there was a real human being theoretically behind the account, but they were basically mimicking sort of bot-like activity.
Right.
And that's a really, really hard thing to detect.
Yeah, because they look human. They are human.
Right.
Exactly.
They are human.
That's the mix, yep.
And the big takeaway that I took from Facebook's report was that, and intelligence sources say the same thing, the majority of the activity was not designed to try and convince people to move from one side to another. It was just designed to create chaos and uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Yeah.
But then, did you all watch the Paul McCartney karaoke in cars video?
I did not.
I wasn't going to watch it because I can't sit here and say I'm a big Beatles fan or anything like that. But I respect the art. You know what I'm saying? And boy, I'm glad I watched that video.
Yeah, and I'm bringing it up for two reasons. It's a cheap segue, I admit, but it also, in Leo's and my grandpa's age, the 60s and the Beatles. And it was amazing to see because what that era meant in terms of fighting on the barricades and people at risk and government doing things we didn't want and all of that. And yet there was a voice of anguish and hope from the Beatles, and it just brought it back out again. It was just I was in tears.
This made you happy to see Paul.
I can't stand James Corden.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't watch it. But then eventually I did.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Oh, Leo, watch the entire
really good
thing. The entire thing.
So
just take any moment. Are you allowed to have music on the air?
Yeah, but I can't hear it. Are you? Do you have me potted up? I'm up. Oh, sometimes we have problems with audio.
Anyway,
effing technology.
Effing technology. We usually try to check this before we do the show.
Everyone in the audience, if you haven't watched the whole thing, take my word for it. Take Ant's word for it. Watch the entire thing.
I do think James Corden in a Beatles wig or a Sgt. Pepper outfit, that's pretty funny.
I just find him incredibly annoying, so that's why I sort of
like him. You don't like him?
Oh, I like him. It's great.
No.
It's really great.
Okay.
No. All right. It's good video, though.
It's so much for that effort for a musical interlude.
I don't know why I have these troubles.
Audio's hard.
California, kind of, I'm sad to say, blinked on net neutrality.
So explain the political angle there, Leo. You would think with Silicon Valley, is it back to Sopa Pipa? Is it Hollywood versus Silicon Valley? What are the sides in this that you'd think that California would be easy to pass?
No, it came from Miguel Santiago, who apparently did not want the zero rating provisions. And, of course, zero rating is a big issue, but it's a tough issue because it's hard to convince, I think, voters that something that saves them money is bad for them.
Same with Amazon, right?
Yeah. And actually, people, I think he's in Orange County Assemblyman. People have started to take out, somewhere in Southern California, somebody bought a billboard in Orange County saying, remember, he's the guy who torpedoed net neutrality in California. Washington State, though, does have a good net neutrality bill, law. So at least there's one state that has it. It's funny. I don't know if this is related, but I was looking at this Variety lineup of AT&T. Their new wireless plans will make it free to watch. What a surprise! A bunch of AT&T properties.
Yeah,
convenient.
So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about zero rating. Is that AT&T, which has acquired Time Warner, is now going to make a bunch of Time Warner stuff free on AT&T Wireless.
Which is why Comcast wants not only
they want Hulu,
but Fox.
Well, and why would that be a bad thing? Consumers say, "Well, that's great, it's free." Well, because then you are picking winners.
This is the classic. This is exactly what everyone was talking about when net neutrality first became a debate. This is the future where the carrier or the cable company that you choose determines what content you get because it's free.
Yeah.
Well, the other way to put the problem is it's fine if you have AT&T, but if you have Verizon or T-Mobile, maybe you can't get it. Maybe it'll be really expensive there, and so it's a fencing of content. Maybe that appeals to consumers. I don't know. It's a really hard message to get across.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an AT&T customer, you go, "Oh, great! Now I can watch HBO for free."
No, not HBO.
Or not HBO. CNN, AMC, Cartoon Network, TBS, TNT. All the Time Warner stuff.
Exclusivity has been around forever, though. Just remember the iPhone? You couldn't get it unless you were using AT&T's really, really bad service back in the days.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But
if it's content like news, and I think zero rating is a slippery slope.
You could argue that the reason the iPhone is so dominant in the United States, I mean, it helped AT&T and it helped the iPhone, didn't it?
It did.
And I think you can very much argue that if a phone doesn't get carrier support, like Phil Zimmerman's black phone, it's dead in the water. And when Xiaomi had a phone that they thought they had AT&T and Verizon all signed up for, and then the federal government put pressure on carriers, don't carry those Chinese phones. So AT&T and Verizon dropped them, and it practically put Xiaomi out of business. It certainly did put them out of business in the U.S. So, these are... I don't think it's good for consumers. Competition is good for consumers, but it's hard to explain why saving you money is a bad thing. It really is. And
but I think if you explain to people how, you like Netflix, right? And so sure, great, Netflix might be 0 rated for you. But what if something comes along that's better than Netflix?
Yeah. It's an opportunity cost.
Get it.
Nobody understands opportunity costs. And you're talking about something, imaginary, the next Netflix. Yeah, what is that? I don't know. I like Netflix. I'm happy to get it for free. Why do I need a new Netflix?
Human beings.
Did you talk about the Amazon brand buster story?
That's a fascinating story, isn't it?
Because it's really actually related, because Amazon can come in, and because it has the mechanism to promote, to market, to recommend, to make and distribute, it can beat all kinds of brands, and consumers will say.
But then it's a little sneaky. Then it's a little sneaky, because if you search for underpants, and you might get Amazon Basics, and then I want that smile on my underpants. And you might get Good Briefs. And what you might not know is it's both Amazon.
All Amazon. Yeah.
They have 100 private label brands. And why would you do that? Well, so that you can do these recommendations and not be seen to be favoring yourself. Spotted Zebras, kids' clothes.
Their power.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, Macy's has house brands.
Oh, it's good for consumers.
Not a monopoly.
Amazon was good for consumers in book prices until they had a monopoly, and then it was bad for consumers.
Yeah, true.
But I think, the hard part is you've got companies like Amazon that it's hard to define whether they're a monopoly. They're a monopoly in some things. Right. They're a monopoly in, certain vaguely defined things. Facebook is a monopoly in, I don't know, social connections. Is that even a market? And yet, so we literally don't even have the terminology to talk about the things that these companies are monopolies in.
No, it's a new way of monopoly, and it's very difficult. I went down to our local bookstore after Anthony Bourdain's death. About a week later, I wanted to get Kitchen Confidential for my son because I wanted him to read that before he took a job in the restaurant industry, which he wanted to do. And I went, and they said, "Oh no, yeah, we're sold out." Because when he died, everybody bought up with the Bourdain books. Now, if I had been that bookstore, this was a week later, I would have rushed. I would have gone to Borders and bought all I would have gotten every source possible and loaded it up. But they said, "No, we don't have it. But we can get it for you." And I said, "No, thanks, because I can go to Amazon and have it delivered to my son tomorrow."
Right.
Yeah. We actually had I had a conversation with a friend about this retailer in Canada, Chapters, which is a bookstore. He went in to buy a book. Actually wanted to go to the store. I don't know why. And the book
because they're nice. Bookstores are fun.
Yeah. No. So he looked around, found a book. He's like, "I want to buy this book." And it was $22.95 or something. And on the Chapters website, it was like $16.99.
Oh, please.
Said, so are you going to give me the price on the website? No. That's the web price. But if you come to the store, you have to pay this other price.
Right.
And he said, "Are you insane? Why would I do that?"
Well, and that's why there are no more stores.
Right.
It's but that's a sad thing. There's another example of something that's not good for society. Now, I have bookstores.
But getting books cheap is good, right? So
but getting book cheap is good.
Right. I like that.
You can't win.
Sure, then the warehouse, is empty and the store goes under. But I got a cheap book.
Now, if you really want to make money, create a free game and put it on iOS. Fortnite is generating more revenue than any free game in history.
$300 million
in
a month.
In 1 month, in May.
Yeah.
Compare that to remember how Pokemon Go was eating the world in 2016? Yeah. 200 million in its biggest month, August 2016. 200 million.
So when I was in Aspen, I had to get my hair cut because I was going to be on TV after all. And I go to a nice lady there. I go to one place and they're going to charge me $60. I said no. I go to the next place, it's $45. Still Aspen pricing. But that's another story. So we're talking about all the incredible wealth in Aspen. What's his? Oh, who's the big?
Allen.
Cleveland basketball.
LeBron.
I think it's LeBron.
LeBron James.
Maybe it wasn't LeBron. Maybe it was LeBron. But another bought an old house in Aspen, had to raise the entire house up to dig down to create a basketball court. Right. This is the kind of wealth you have there. So she said, "Oh yeah, one of my clients, he created the candy game, and he never thought, I'd make a game, I'm going to be a billionaire." And that was in Aspen.
Wow. Well, I could just assure you, if anybody buys Twit for hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm not moving to Aspen.
No.
Portugal, maybe.
I tweeted this. I think there even the dogs get facelifts.
Yeah, it's funny because Fortnite, not only is it a free game, they make all the money through digital goods, but they're not digital goods that help you play better. They just help you look better.
Skins,
really?
There's skins and dancing, and it's not about better guns. Yeah. It's just about looking better.
Is it not on Android?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not yet? It's coming.
Oh, it's coming, yeah.
Oh,
it's
is that it? Oh.
Yeah.
No,
but it's on everywhere. And what's interesting is that it's doing so well on mobile because it's really a desktop or console game.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, that is a complicated game.
It's on Nintendo Switch. That's right, not Android.
Yeah. Overwatch did the same thing with skins. Both of my daughters were obsessed with getting a skin.
Fortnite kind of ate everybody alive. I mean, even Overwatch, which I love. I think Overwatch is a great game. But
what's the life cycle though of a game? How long before it? They think they're going to take over the world. Well, everybody's going to win. That's that.
Pokemon Go is a good example. I've never seen more obsession about Pokemon Go. We were down in San Diego when it was at its peak, and there was how they have median strips with a nice lawn and some trees. And it was like Woodstock. It was jammed because there was, I guess, some valuable property there, and people were just camped there. You couldn't. It was like, and you'd see this all over the place at Golden Gate Park, at Central Park. You'd see it all over the place, and then it's gone. It's over. I actually started playing it again because they've added all the features they promised to add 2 years ago, like trading. Friends.
And apparently the active player count is higher than it's been since the launch.
Oh, interesting. So it's coming. Maybe it'll come back.
There's still lots of people playing it. It just doesn't get as much attention.
Yeah.
And since you're the one who has actual gaming, like real equipment stuff, do you play Fortnite?
That would be no. I have better things to do.
I love Fortnite.
What's your game? What's your game?
My game is still good old-fashioned Team Fortress 2.
Oh, well, Fortnite's the same game.
Good game.
It's just a copy of TF2.
Oh, no. I sat my kids down one day to try to play TF2. And actually, I told him to come watch me play. And his eyes were just all over the place.
Let me show you how Daddy does it.
It's so fast. Because Fortnite bores me. It's so slow. It's like
it is pretty slow,
sniping.
It's slow until everybody gets pushed together.
Kill everything, right.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that really made it different, I think.
I don't think you could say that I play Fortnite. I enter the world, parachute in, glide in, and die immediately, and then watch for the rest of the game. So playing...
I mean, that's how you learn games, right?
He's a Fortnite tourist.
Yeah, I'm a Fortnite tourist.
Materialize, die. Materialize, die.
Actually, our 15-year-old loves TF2, and he loves Gary's mod, which I'm sure
old school.
Yeah.
Old school.
He likes the old stuff. I don't know why.
It's good.
Young people, according to The Verge. I love it. I love The Verge's now. Young people still love Twitter as screenshots on Instagram. Apparently, this is the new way to tweet, is to post it on Instagram. Take a picture of the tweet and post it on Instagram. Pew Research Center reported that fewer teenagers than ever are using platforms like Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr. It's not, though, that they're finished with content from the sites. Instead, Instagram has grown into a home away from home to consume screenshots of the best content from those services.
It's all memes, though, right?
It's all memes.
Yeah. So
Manic
I think it's because
look at Maniac Pixel Meme Queen is an example. Although I have more followers than she does, so I don't know. This is a trend I loathe on Instagram. I like to see pictures of your canoe and lake. I like to see photographs. I don't want to see memes.
Yeah. That's because you don't
want to read all of these parables and stuff that people share on Instagram. I didn't come to Instagram to read.
I want to see pictures.
Here's a guy with 1.9 million followers.
Illiteracy reigns.
That's because we're old.
Domino's Pizza posted. I like this. Domino's Pizza Australia posted. So, what did your parents tell you when you were younger so you'd eat all your food? Somebody responded, eat your food or I'll make you eat Domino's. See? Don't you? This is meme.
Some of them are good.
Some of them are good. Yeah. It's a good way to keep up with, I guess what he does is reposts others. Mm-hmm. So if you want to keep up with, I got to say, this fits in. So my youngest daughter's 20, but for the last 3, 4, 5 years, I've noticed almost the entirety of her media consumption is remixes. So, and that covers everything, not just music, but so it's reposts of reposts or memes that are created out of other memes. It's like meta. Every form of is meta. And so she's not consuming the thing. It's someone's take on the thing or the meme of the take on the thing. It's fascinating. It's next level.
That is fascinating. I see a lot of these, like the lady that wanted to call the police on the black men at the barbecue, and people will redo that 50 times. And I got so sick of seeing it. 1 or 2 times is clever, but give her a break. Be original.
Yep.
Let's see. What else you guys want to talk about?
Let's hear.
Young people still love Twitter.
Kids nowadays.
So the gadget makers bracing for Trump's trade war, right?
This is kind of an interesting
back and forth.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to an iPhone in China? And
so Tim Cook, who's there was a great picture on the New York Times of a two-faced Tim Cook facing President Xi of China and President Trump of the U.S. and playing both against the other. Of course, China is vital to iPhone manufacture. Most iPhones are made there. Trump has promised, the administration has promised not to tariff phones or TVs. On the other hand, if we have, we've got $250 billion of tariffs on China, there's nothing that would stop China from retaliating in other ways. For instance, tariffing incoming parts for iPhones.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's the issue, right? Yeah. Same around cars.
This is the problem with, I guess, trade wars. I've never lived through one, but there's a lot of collateral damage. Well, I don't know if we are yet or if it's just posturing. I mean, it hasn't.
It's coming.
You think so?
With Canada, it's there.
Yep.
Our dear friends.
No more Canadian aluminum.
Yeah, exactly.
Or aluminium.
Aluminium.
Well, if you'd spell it right, we wouldn't have to tariff it.
We got really good aluminum too. I'm not lying.
Yeah, I know it's unclear.
Right.
And honestly, I think the American. I don't hear a lot of people saying, "Uh-oh, is my iPhone going to cost?" I don't think that it's that price sensitive. For one thing, I mean, my God, this iPhone 10 is $1,000.
You got a point there. Yeah.
So it's an interesting market.
There's a lot of margin.
Yeah, and then I think people are honestly, more worried about their retirement funds and their 401ks and all of that. But the problem is that could also be collateral damage in a trade war.
Well, I heard somebody on MSNBC as I was driving here speedily to get to the show say that the 40 odd percent that Trump has, he calls them the 401k voters. That as long as the 401k is in good shape, that's why he's in the 40s, not the 30s. Right?
But will it be?
Will it be is a good question.
Yeah. If you look at Apple's stock price over the last month, it has come down a bit, probably over these trade fears. But again, the iPhone is so far exempt. So it's so hard to figure this stuff out. To be honest with you, I don't understand any of it. I should read more Facebook.
Yes, you should. Well, I got another question for you. Have you been playing with IGTV?
There's a good one. What do you guys think? Ant, are you using? I know you do the Friday night YouTube videos. Are you looking at IGTV as another venue for you?
I actually planned on releasing a video with my thoughts on this, but in short.
Well, here, do it here, and you can edit it and put it on IGTV.
Exactly.
No.
You have
to turn Ant's monitor this way before you can do that.
We actually posted some stuff on IGTV I guess our people have jumped on the IGTV bandwagon, but because it's vertical video and we shoot normally, like
doesn't work.
The edges are all cut off on all the lower thirds and all the information. It's weird.
You have to plan all of that, and I think it's a decent idea, but you have to plan for it and also figure out what your strategy is, because I personally don't want my YouTube content to be replaced by IGTV. I'd rather use IGTV as an option to get you over to my YouTube content, or use it the way I did with today's video. It's just giving you a behind the scenes and a thought process kind of quick tip and tricks, because I don't think anybody's going to watch something on their phone for 10 minutes or 8 minutes or 5 minutes like that. You're just not going to do it. But I could still give you 2 minutes, something like that, of decent content in that same aspect ratio without an issue, as long as I plan for it and make sure that I shoot in that particular aspect ratio.
This is Ant's video right now. I got his. I'm watching you. No. What are you looking at? Look at him.
That's not mine.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is. That's this morning.
Yeah, that's this morning. So 16 views, 2 comments. It's a couple of minutes long. Get out earlier or stay out later. I like that. Right. I like that. I don't. By the way, I keep doing that. You got to swipe up from the middle, and then you can see the other stuff. I'm not sure. By the way, you were #1 on For Me. Look at that. So that's where you want to be. I don't know how they know. Here's another Twit review. So we're. Oh, look, they obviously.
See, that looks great.
Yeah, they did a little editing to make sure it all fit in.
But you are cheating.
Because we're using, well, the other thing about IGTV is it doesn't have live streaming. It is designed for you to upload video, right?
I've done live streaming on IGTV.
Oh, you can live
IGTV. Sorry,
you can live stream on Instagram. But and they say I think that there will be live streaming. But right now, what happens is now look at this. That's really cheating. They have landscape video on that's not going to work, Shira. Yeah, that's more like GoPro knows what they're doing. Justine, of course, she knows what she's doing.
Justine, of course, is on top of it.
So what is this? Is this a challenge to YouTube? Is it a challenge to...
Allegedly.
Snapchat? What's it a challenge to? What is it going to...
More so towards YouTube, because because Instagram went directly to the big YouTube creators and said, hey, this is what we're getting ready to do. So can you jump on board? And Mr. Marquez Brownlee was one of those people.
Right away.
Yep, right away.
And
they had a big booth at VidCon.
Right.
Oh, tell us about VidCon.
Oh, that's right. It was VidCon. That's right.
IGTV came out at VidCon, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what was the reaction there? VidCon, which is really a YouTube event, pretty much.
Well, no, this is the interesting thing. It really. So I was on one panel where the moderator up at the industry track said, this always was seen as a YouTube conference. Not really this year, because as we listed last week, everybody's doing video. IGTV had a huge booth of really tall vertical monitors. They had a lounge just like YouTube. They had their own lounge with their own swag. Somewhere I've got a T-shirt here. No, there was talk about every platform. It wasn't just YouTube. And on YouTube, they didn't send Susan Wojcicki this year. They had a product, and they really didn't make any announcements.
Oh,
and it really struck me that everything YouTube announced, you had to have either 10,000 or 100,000 subscribers before you could even get access. If you have 100,000
subscribers, you could charge $4.99 a month and have subscriptions, which is aimed at Patreon, I would guess.
Right.
Yeah. So I saw Jack there, and he was kind of rolling his eyes a little bit, saying everybody's doing it now.
Jack Conte, founder of Patreon. Yeah.
I mean, to me,
and by the way.
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, just real quickly. So, by the way, I think that notion of charging, I'm not a big fan of paywalls, but patronage I do think has real value. And I think there's a new model born here in being able to charge on YouTube. We'll see whether it works or not, but also Facebook groups. I think it's an opportunity for media to start charging for if it's valuable enough, if it's good, if it's a gate. So that's an interesting model that's come out across both those.
I was going to say, I mean, YouTube. A lot of the reason why people are there, creators are there, is because they get revenue. I mean, the reason why lots of them haven't moved over to Facebook Watch is because there's no revenue. Or
Amazon had a big presence. They had the entire lounge on.
But what is Amazon's offering? Twitch? Is that it?
No. Amazon's offering merch.
Merch.
Yeah, your own merch.
So
the
idea
have
is
a piece in Twitch where I think it's called Twitch Prime. If you follow someone on Twitch, that's another way of contributing to the people you follow by using Twitch Prime. So all of your purchases sends a couple nickels to whoever you follow on Twitch. So that's one little leg up.
And it sounds like, you correct me if I'm wrong, you're our local expert, that if you're a creator, you don't want to look at any one platform. You don't want an exclusive with anybody. You want to use each platform for what it's best for. IGTV, a good way to promote, to push people towards your YouTube.
That's my theory, and that's the strategy I use, because each of those platforms have individual audiences. The people that follow me on Twitter are not the same that follow me over on Google Plus. Yes, I still use Google Plus. You know, and you have to tailor your
terrorist, Sant.
Nice.
It's a big difference. And when I go through my week of planning out content creation, I try to figure out, okay, once I got this piece of content, where am I going to share it and how I'm going to share it? Because that's
the right way to do it. But it's expensive, right?
Or just put some personality behind it and put it on. If I'm going to put it on Instagram, I got to figure out a clever way to put it there to make it relevant to those folks on Instagram.
But
it requires a lot more thought and effort, right?
No?
What's that?
It sounds like you're pretty dedicated to YouTube, like that's your sort of main home. Is that right?
For now, it is, because it's the easiest platform for me to share the little bit that I know and what I've learned, and being able to live stream pretty seamlessly. It's been great. And plus the whole SEO model behind it, it's the second largest search engine on there.
Yeah.
Are you bothered by what looks like a effort on YouTube's part to keep people from mentioning other streams and other places? They banned people for saying, "Come watch my Twitch stream," for instance.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of big channels take a hit because of that, and I guess YouTube has the right to do that because it is their product that you're trying to profit off of. I don't think about it too much, but it sort of made sense to me. If I'm going to sit there and be touting my iPad, I'm not necessarily going to talk about just how great Google Maps is on it versus Apple Maps.
Well,
Apple might not like that.
This is, though, a little bit in counter to what you just said, which is the best thing for a creator to do is to be in a bunch of platforms, use the platform natively, appropriately. But if from the platform's point of view, and you could see this in the IGTV announcement, which featured creators, and I'm sure at VidCon, which features creators, it's the superstars of individual platforms that make the platforms happy. They want you to be loyal.
Yeah. And for me, I will say I'll be more loyal to YouTube just because of what I provide. I don't think my long form content is a good fit on Instagram, because Instagram or IGTV, whatever you want to call it, is people scrolling through with short attention spans. You're literally just scrolling through. You're not there to consume several minutes. That's why the IG stories work as well as they do, because they're 15 seconds at a time.
Right.
But you can take a video and put it in your Instagram feed and, hope that somebody's going to watch it, because you can put up to 60 seconds. But I guarantee you put it on the stories, you get a lot more views and clicks there, because it's just the whole attention span.
Instagram's got to watch out, because IGTV could end up being a wasteland of advertising, product placement.
It could.
This is one of the big problems I have in general with Instagram, is a lot of these Instagram stars use their popularity to basically do advertising on there.
Yeah.
Not that we would ever do that, but it just seems a little bit more advertising focused. Like that's the point of the feed.
I look out a little bit, because most of the people I follow on the Instagram platform are dedicated photographers, because that's what I love. I love to look at the photographs. I love the craft behind it and trying to get into their head to see how did they come up with that particular shot? How did they come up with that composition? And most of those folks, they're not really doing a lot of the ad worthy stuff. Every now and then they'll do a story to show you the behind the scenes, but beyond that, this is, they'll post something every other day, that kind of thing, because they're working on their craft and then they're going to share it. They're not doing a whole lot of spamming and stuff like that.
No, that's exactly who I follow. And I guess that's the saving grace of Instagram is you only see what you follow minus the ad every 8
I get that little banner at the top that says so-and-so just posted on IGTV. And I've now trained myself to ignore that because most of the time it's people that I'm not that interested in. I follow them, but I'm not that interested in them.
Well, and that
now
is
if Trey Ratcliffe did it, I'd probably look.
That is the different model of IGTV because it has this, the following tab is just one of, 3 for you following and popular. A lot of the content on IGTV is not from people you follow, but but from people they are promoting, like this Aunt Pruitt guy.
I will also say Clemson, and I get nothing from Clemson University, but they are doing a really good job on IGTV and how they're using it.
Really?
How are they doing that? They planned it. You can tell they sat down and planned it out far as how they want to make this shot work and go through their scripts.
I bet they started with Snapchat, though, didn't they?
More so with, I think it was Snapchat. But they got the Clemson social media team got really, really big a couple of years ago, and they ended up at Adobe Max. Adobe said, please come out here and show everybody how are you creating this great content. And come to find out they were using Adobe products and all that good stuff. But it's just the thought process that goes into it is what really sets them apart. And now all of the little colleges and whatnot are doing the same type of thing because that's how you get players to come there. They see your social media presence.
All right.
That's smart.
I think that if, at least my bet is, if you were to look at what IGTV is aimed at, it is aimed to be the final nail in the Snap coffin. That and not because creators will move there, because a lot of the people use Snapchat because it's not so public,
right?
But that's where the revenue comes from, is all the brands like Clemson and everybody else putting their stuff in the Discover tab, and I guarantee you that's the plan for IGTV is let's just suck all the revenue out of Snap.
Yeah,
seems like that's been the plan from day one,
right?
Though,
right.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that if you I've been thinking about it. It's not targeted at YouTube because people like you will use both. It is not going to hurt Instagram because it's very different. It's like, oh, let's A, get another icon on the desktop, another set of notifications, and B, let's kill.
Do you think Snap has a chance?
Not at this point, no. It's funny, though. I may not be the right person to ask because
depends on the demographic.
It's the demographic. Young people love Snap, and my kid still uses Snap.
My kids still use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too.
For private communication, though, right?
Right.
So
see, that's the problem. So I think I think there's still a use case for that. There's still a use case for the sort of.
Oh, I agree. So if you're Instagram, you can't, or Facebook, you can't kill that because Facebook's very much the opposite. But you can kill their revenue.
Revenue, right?
Yes.
How do you generate revenue?
Go after the revenue.
Teens sharing short snaps of themselves doing something goofy. It's not that there's not a need.
Yeah.
Is it a big business?
Yeah. Not that I should be concerned about the business model, but it's just, I don't think it bodes well for the long-term survival of Snap.
I wanted to mention regarding VidCon. I think the last time I was on here, we discussed, using a Chromebook for what I do in the content creation world.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you're bringing this up. Yes.
And I had one of those virtual conference calls with Adobe prior to VidCon and the whole embargo stuff or whatever. But they released Project Rush, and basically it's allowing you to have a video editor on your mobile devices, but it's just not stripped down. It's pretty daggum powerful, links into your Creative Cloud account and all of that stuff. But not only can you do it on iOS and Android, but you can also use a Chromebook with the Google Play version of it, or you're going to end up being able to do it on the web as well. And this is not just simple iMovie like video editing. This is, you can put motion graphics and things like that in it as well. And I was so pumped up during that presentation and just.
Are you in the beta?
Yes, sir. I signed up for it. I wrote about it briefly over on Tech Republic if anybody in the chat room wants to check that out. But I'm just so excited about it because now I have the chance to grab my Chromebook and do some nice quick video edits.
Does the editing occur locally? Sorry, Ann. Does the editing occur locally?
Right.
Or
it's
on
local,
the cloud?
But you can make some changes to your cloud stuff to sync up to later. Like if I want to change a template today, and then I can pull it down tomorrow on another device and work with it. But if I want to change it tomorrow, I can change it, send it back up to the cloud, and it'll stay there. Because I use a lot of different lower thirds and templates, motion graphics inside of my videos right now that are just sort of standard things. And it would be nice if I could grab those things when I'm in a hotel somewhere and actually use them instead of having to be on my beast right here.
I don't know how I missed this. I did not. I'm so glad you brought this up. I had no idea. So this is timeline style editing.
Yep.
How does it compare to Premiere?
Well, this is a lighter version of Premiere, but in addition to that, you get a lighter version of Adobe Audition to edit audio inside of it.
Yeah.
So and like they have this auto ducking feature inside of Audition right now that easily integrates in Premiere Pro. I use it all the time. If you don't know what auto ducking is, it's you have a video and you have your music bed below it, and if somebody starts talking in your video, the music automatically ducks down to a lower gain, and when they stop talking, it automatically comes back up because it's transitioned to another scene. You get that functionality in Project Rush.
I always laugh at that, though. How hard is it to just duck the audio down a little bit?
Oh, trust me. When you're going through clips after clip after clip, it takes up a lot of time.
Any automation is a good thing.
It takes up a lot of time.
It is compatible with Premiere. It looks like that you can do it on mobile as well as desktop as well as Chrome, and that all the edits sync. So it's clearly saving an edit decision list of some kind. So kind of like Adobe Lightroom, where you can make edits on a mobile device, but then it
says Android is coming soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Phone, tablet,
They're
or
hoping
desktop.
to have all of this stuff out before the end of the year. I think they told me was it November they told me?
Have you posted any videos with it yet?
No, they haven't released the beta just yet. They just let you sign up for it.
Okay.
But the second I get that email, you better believe I already got some files ready.
They say, please provide a link to a recent video you shared online. Can I just put twit?
You probably can do that.
Just put twit.
You are Leo Laporte.
Well, I would love to. I've signed up, but we'll see if I can get in.
Throw out everything you have and just get Chromebooks, Leo. Just get rid of all that expensive stuff.
Wouldn't that change our whole perspective on this? Wow.
And that's what I've been begging for. I was like, the Chromebooks are great devices, and there's always just one little hiccup when it comes to creating content. Now, if you're a writer, it's no big deal. You can just open up Google Docs and write your story. But when it comes to editing raw files from your Canon camera, you have a few limited options, and then getting into the world of video editing, that was a whole different ball of wax.
This is really...
It also makes you want to buy the higher-end Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have to see when the software comes out. But Chromebook doesn't run software locally, does it?
Well, this is for...
It could only be a Chrome extension, which means the server would have to do the work. I'm sorry, the server is going to have to do the work. This has to be server-based. Well, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it's
something is reading something locally. God, now I got to go back and look through my notes.
Well,
because I remember going through it, and it said that there are things that you can do locally.
Well, sure. I mean, a Chrome extension.
Have an internet. Everybody's not going to have an internet connection.
You can have offline editing in Chrome.
Yeah.
And then push it up to the cloud.
Yeah.
But most Chromebooks don't have the horsepower to do much. So this would be very interesting to see how it works on a Chromebook. It may not really be intended for a Chromebook. Is it?
I just put up the YouTube, the VidCon presentation of it.
Okay, I will be looking at that. It does say desktop or laptop, so it sounds like it doesn't specifically mention Chrome OS. So it sounds
doesn't
like
mention Chrome OS. It's just saying
Android.
that you can do it in a browser. That's the next goal is a browser. First is the mobile devices, and then using it on a Chromebook inside of the Google Play apps on Chromebook, whatever it's called. I cannot remember. I hadn't done that in a long time. But then later, be able to do that in a browser.
Let's take a little break. I'm going to give you a pass, Aunt Pruitt. That is your thing of the week, I think.
That was a good thing.
Project Rush. I'm excited. I just signed up. That's exciting. But if you want to come up with another one, you can, Mathew. And then, of course, Jeff, if you have a number.
Already.
I
already got them.
All right. I like it. And we are going to do an ad for Lighthouse. I'm very pleased, actually, to see that Lighthouse is back. I use the Lighthouse. In fact, I was just looking at my Lighthouse at home because it's nobody's home, and it said there was activity. I got a notification. There was activity while nobody was home, so I wanted to see. Lighthouse is a smart camera that can distinguish between humans and pets and people, and so I can see, for instance, show me people within the last 24 hours. I have my Lighthouse pointed at the front door in my office where my iMac Pro sits. I don't want anybody stealing my iMac Pro. And oh, that's good. It's just the housekeepers doing the bi-monthly vacuuming. And it's nice to see that they're actually doing my office. So I can keep track of that. But this is so cool. Lighthouse knows who we are. So one of the issues for Lisa having a camera in the house, she said, I don't want a camera on in the house when I'm home. So the minute Lisa or I comes home, the camera turns off. I could see events, and even better, I can set up notifications. Anything happened while I was gone? Ping me if you see anything between 10 and 5. Do you see any new people? Because it knows who it's seen before. It even knows pets. What did the dog do while I was gone? Or the cat? Ping me if you don't see the cat by 10. Ping me if you see the kids with the cat. What did the kids do when I was gone? There's another nice feature for kids. Younger kids especially love it. The Lighthouse not only has a very good high-quality camera and night vision and 3D sensing. It's got actual time of flight 3D imaging in it. So that's how it knows people and animals versus, objects. But you can even recognize waving. So if the kids go up to the Lighthouse and wave at it, you'll get a notification, Michael's waving at us, and then it has a speaker and a microphone you can talk to them to. This is 3D sensing and AI technology that came from self-driving cars. One of the founders of Lighthouse was actually a competitor in the Grand Challenge, the ARPA Grand Challenge for the self-driving vehicles. There really is nothing like the Lighthouse out there. It has been praised as the best AI home security around. It, frankly, is the one I use at home. And you can get $100 off your very own Lighthouse right now if you go to light.house. Only through July 9th. It's a special Independence Day sale. I like their tagline. The intelligence may be artificial, but the savings are real. Light.house for $100 off your very own Lighthouse camera. There's no special offer code. This is good for anybody. Tell all your friends. This is the security I recommend, I use, and I've set other people up with. It's the first camera that lets you just ask what you want to know. You can go through 30 days of video history just by asking natural questions. What happened when I was gone? Tell me if you see somebody in the house between noon and 2. Lighthouse is great because you don't get more notifications than you want. You only get notifications for things you specifically want to see. And I love it that the camera turns off when we go home. So our privacy is 100% protected. www.light.house for $100 off your own Lighthouse camera. But this is a special for Independence Day. You only have through July 9th, so do not delay. And we're thrilled to have Lighthouse on the network. We actually were part of their launch, helped them get off the ground. And in the early days, we had to say things like, sign up to get your Lighthouse the minute it's available. But now they're in stock, and there's plenty of them, so go get one. It's a good deal. Light.house. Mathew Ingram, you got anything you want to tell us about? A pick of the week, a book you like?
I was actually looking for, this was on the rundown I noticed. Did anybody have any Bitcoins in Mt. Gox by any chance before it went under?
I did not, but I know they lost a huge amount of money, right?
Yeah, $1 billion or so worth, I think. I think at the time it was about 475 million. So basically all vanished. And then they found some, but it all got tied up in bankruptcy court. So now it appears that that has been unfrozen. And so they're going to start giving people back some of those Bitcoins. I think we're talking multiple billions of Bitcoins that they're going to start doling out, I guess. Well, I had some, but I can't find the password or the key. And so, yeah, I guess I don't get it.
Yeah, you have to prove ownership, right?
Yeah.
So what's funny is they didn't recover all the Bitcoins lost. But because Bitcoin has gone up so much since then, everybody who can prove the ownership can get made whole, at least for the amount it was worth when they lost it.
Yeah, they lost 850,000, and they only found 200,000, but it's worth orders of magnitude more. So
it's wild. It's wild. So, by the way, that actually caused Bitcoin to go down on Friday. That announcement by nearly 8%. Because
increase in volume.
Yeah. A lot more Bitcoin. That means, it's going to be worth a lot less. So that hit the price pretty hard. Jeff, you got a number for us?
Yeah. First, let me put in a plug again for the Intelligence Squared debate. I put up a link on the rundown and the URL for anybody who might want to go there. Oh, I lost it.
I could find it. IntelligenceSquared.org.
Yeah, so there's a short URL.
US.org, right?
Yeah, and the smart URL is smarturl.it/social media debate SM&D up. I start in minute 38, but we lost, but that's
is cool. So Intelligence Squared
they do
US.org.
really good debates. They're formal debates. There's two on one side, two on the other side. You do an opening statement, reversing your question. The audience votes beforehand what their opinion is, and then whoever gets the delta from the audience wins the debate.
Oh, and they talk about everything we talk about.
They do a lot of topics. It's about trying to have civil, informed, productive conversation. So I like them as an organization. They're very good, and they do a lot of good debates.
I'm so glad they did this. This was a show I really wanted to do, and I wanted to have Father Robert, who's a Jesuit, be the moderator for a debate panel, but it was just probably logistically too difficult. So that's really cool that they've done this. That's really great.
They're good debaters.
My number.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
They're good debaters, the Jesuits.
Yes, they are.
That's why I wanted Robert to do it.
That's right. So the number is that now a six-figure income for families in the Bay Area puts you in poverty.
What?
That's some
If you earn $117,000 in the Bay Area, you qualify as low income?
I agree.
Yep.
What? Do you qualify for benefits?
No, I think it just means that I think I would guess maybe low income housing, if any existed.
Yeah, my son's living in an apartment in North Beach, and he has two roommates. It's an apartment intended really for one person, and it's the only way it can be affordable. But he loves living in North Beach. San Francisco is a great city.
Great pasta. I talked to one of my graduates who's been out of the school, I think 8-9 years now, and has a really good career, technology journalist. But she said, I'm tired of still have roommates at this point in my life.
Oh yeah. Well, when a median price for a single-family home in the Bay Area is $935,000, you can see why people have roommates.
So this is clearly a bigger problem for the technology companies because that's the worldview of the people who are there. And coming from Aspen, where they have, I'm going to start a meme convincing people that they do faceless for dogs. But they don't.
Here's a house complete with leaks in the roof that sold for $1.23 million.
Yeah,
6 competing offers, all over asking price. Obviously, it's a teardown, right?
Yes.
Although I'd keep the chain link fence. It adds a certain
certain
land is land.
Jeez Louise.
They're not making it anymore.
Well, now you know why we're in Petaluma, right? So is it more expensive than New York City, though, Jeff?
Oh, I think so now, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I was talking to a friend of mine, Emily Parker, who was on the debate with me at IQ Squared, said that Tokyo is now a lot less expensive because of the economies in the end.
I'd rather live in Tokyo.
So it's less expensive than New York.
I'm on my way.
It's major.
I'm going to Tokyo.
Average house price in Toronto is $800,000.
Oh, it's pretty high.
Toronto's, I should have bought. I almost bought there years and years ago, just for like a getaway place. I so wish I had. Oh God, I wish I had.
When I used to work down there 10 years ago, there were a lot of condos springing up.
Yes.
Oh, always.
Is that still the case?
There's more. There are more. Yeah.
Tons of high-rise condo developments.
Yeah.
And you said you still had something, even though you gave us so much with Rush.
I do. And I'll be quick because it's two things. The first one is if you're using Amazon, I'm sure everybody in this audience knows about smile.amazon.com, and that's where it takes whatever you purchase and puts a little percentage towards whatever charity or what have you that you'd like to support.
I do Doctors Without Borders with my purchases.
Right. And I'd like to urge, since we were talking about Kylo Finn earlier, is to take a look at your local animal shelter, because those folks had to spend a ton of money, and at least they do here. And the shelter that I got Kylo from, they spent a ton of money to help make sure he was healthy when before I got him. And then right after I got him, this turd decided he wanted to swallow a football glove and a headphone cover. And all of a sudden, he needed surgery, and the shelter said, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of the surgery." And I'm like, "Cause I can't afford that." Wow. And they just took care of it, and he's 2 years later, he's just fine. And awesome? So all of my Amazon stuff goes towards my local animal shelter. Yeah. So that's one. And the other one is my good friend Charlie does a podcast for the geek community. He calls it geekquestioner.com. And it's based on a lot of sci-fi stuff. They read a ton of different books and a lot of just geek culture. At the time, I don't know what the heck they're talking about because I'm not that cool. But I've been on that show a few times, and it's always entertaining just to listen to the answers that people put up.
Wait a minute, and is that really you?
Yeah, that's me, sir.
Are you that big in the arms?
I hope so.
Holy cow. We never see that part of you.
I spent a little bit of time in the gym, sir.
Dude.
Jeez.
Dude.
I'm never disagreeing with you again.
And take off your shirt. I want to see. I don't believe it. Let me see it.
And that's the exact same shirt that I have on. That's what's funny. I still
oh my God, dude.
Jeez.
I'm an oldish man, but I'm a bad man.
Oh my God. You look like The Rock. Holy cow.
Yeah, check out geekquestioner.com. They do a podcast every week. They have a Google Plus community, and he sends out the questions every night at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And it ranges from what books are you reading today, or if you're had to be in the last scene of a book you last read, tell us about it and what would you do? I mean, it's really thought-provoking and good conversations there. And it's not all of this foolishness that you see on social media.
Good. Sounds great.
Foolishness.
Geekquestioner.com. And I want to apologize. You're the first person on any of my shows I've ever asked to take off their shirt. Mathew, take off your shirt, Mathew.
No one wants to see that. Trust me.
No one. Yeah, I am not.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Mine. And Pruitt, you'll find him at Tech Republic and at the Geekscape at geekquestioner.com. And anything else you want to plug in?
Hop on over to my YouTube channel, watch those videos. But even better, if you get a kick out of those videos or learn something from them, share them with someone else. I really appreciate that support.
Is it youtube.com/
Ant Pruitt?
Ant, ANTPRUITT.
That's correct, sir.
Yeah. Are you going to do one on lifting?
I do have a few vlogs on there about some of my weightlifting stuff over the years.
What do you bench press?
I don't know. Now I may do, I don't know, maybe 340, 350.
What the? Jesus Christ.
I'm not as strong as I used to be.
Well, yeah.
You could bench press All three of us.
Well, I don't know, Leo. I've gained a little weight.
All right, maybe just two of us.
I'm aging and my joints get a little sore nowadays. And
So
you've
always lifted since youth?
I've been lifting for a long time. Football player.
Oh, yeah. You look like The Rock. I'm not kidding. Those are some guns.
How long do you spend a day doing it, or a week?
My lifting is now decreased to about maybe 4 days a week, sometimes 3, but I do a whole lot more here in the house. I do a lot more yoga, and I do a lot of push-ups during the day and pull-ups during the day.
Jeez. Wow.
That's how you get strong. Push-ups and pull-ups.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As soon as I can do a push-up and pull-up, I'll be doing that.
Start with one.
One would be
15
nice.
15 pull-ups at a time, sir.
How many?
15 pull-ups at a time.
Jeez.
You'll be sore tomorrow. Feel like you have the flu.
No, I can't. I'm serious. One is my limit. Matthew Ingram.
This was my dread in high school.
Oh, I hated pull-ups.
Pull-ups.
Hate them. But they're good for the stomach too, right? It's all cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've made us feel inadequate, Ant.
Yeah, exactly. Now I feel really old and dumpy.
That's the old and dumpy Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jeffrey Jarvis. He blogs at Buzz Machine, hides behind a blue bar some days. He's at Jeff Jarvis on the Twitter. And no, he does not lift, except our spirits each and every week. Thank you for rushing back to get on the show.
Sorry I was late.
Don't ever apologize.
When you hear the phrase ATC Newark, you just know you're doomed.
That's automated traffic control.
Air traffic control.
Yeah.
Traffic control.
He's just circling. Mathew Ingram, the only circling he's been doing lately is his canoe around the lake. Chief digital writer at cjr.org. Summertime's a good time up there in the Canadian wilderness. Thank you for being here, Mathew. Anything you want to plug?
Just Columbia Journalism Review. Check it out.
It's legendary. The CJR. Yeah. Is there a paywall for that, or can I just read everything?
There's a paywall for the magazine stuff. Not a paywall, but the magazine stuff is comes on. Yeah, over time, but
they'll beg you. They'll beg.
You can donate.
Please.
You can donate to
Eventually
support
it's all
them.
online.
Yeah,
it's begware.
Yeah.
Begware.
Well, my dad went to Columbia, so I should probably support you guys.
You should.
Yes. Thank you so much, all three of you. It's always a pleasure. We do Twig every Wednesday, about 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, 20:30 UTC.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday is the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States of America. I suppose we could do a show with people like Mathew, Ian Thompson, all the British Commonwealth folks who are sorry that we're independent. But no, we're going to take the whole day off. The whole network will be shut down for Independence Day. I hope you have a wonderful Independence Day, and we'll be back on July 11th. You can also get on demand. If you miss the show next week, just listen to an older show. There's lots of them up there this week. In twit.tv/twig, I think is the URL. Twit.tv/twig. You can also look for Twig in your favorite podcatcher and subscribe. That way you'll get every episode the minute it's available. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We will see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.